Welcome to the Following Films podcast. In this episode, we're thrilled to welcome two creative minds who have brought a truly unique film to life. Joining us are director Mark H. Rapaport and co-writer/star Kimball Farley to talk about their darkly comedic, emotionally charged coming-of-age film, Hippo. In Hippo, we meet two step-siblings, Hippo, a video game-obsessed teenager, and Buttercup, a Hungarian Catholic immigrant with a passion for classical music and an unshakable faith in Jesus. A hormone-fueled, tragic, comedic exploration of love, chaos, and sibling rivalry ensues. Think ancient Greek mythology meets modern suburban life. Hippo challenges expectations and pushes boundaries. In today's conversation, we'll discuss the film's blend of humor and heart, the process of bringing such a unique story to the screen, and the weirdness that exists in all of our homes. Hippo is an unforgettable experience, and you can catch it in theaters today. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Mark and Kimball. Thanks a lot. Hey guys, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for taking the time to do this. I was absolutely floored by the movie. The thing that I reacted to the most was, and I'm just going to jump right into it because we don't have a lot of time, was that I never felt the judgment of the filmmakers or the performers on this particular family. And I think that speaks to how fucking weird all of our families are. And there's there's this secret life that we all have that we don't want the world to see. And you can feel the normal outside world outside of this family experience so much so that it while this is not my experience, there's something in this that felt deeply familiar. And I'm just wondering if that was by intention, or do I need to make an appointment to a therapist pretty soon?
No, I love that. I mean, I think that's sort of we've been thinking about this and like, how is the world going to perceive Hippo, and are people going to relate to it? And I think that what we ultimately realized was if we go for a universal truth that maybe we experienced as kids, even if it feels specific, the beautiful thing is that the world is full of misfits, and that's actually nice, because as a misfit you could feel alone and you could feel depressed or sad that there's no one like you. But I love when the weirdos can get together on the internet or at the cinema, and social media shows that to me too. Like, you'll get a post recommended on Instagram of like a guy feeding raccoons like hot dogs, and you're like, this is me. And I'm like, I think I'm the first person to see this. And you click it and it has 41 million views. And you're like, okay, the world feels a little less small. So no, I think that's definitely maybe it wasn't the intention going in, but it was the hope. It was the hope that we were not alone. And I think, yeah, I think people like you, that statements like that help us show that is correct. And I love talking to people who feel like the same way.
And Kimball, could you talk a little bit about playing? All acting is vulnerable, but what you're doing here is so incredible. And there's no one to blame but yourself. You were involved in the writing of this damn thing. So I couldn't imagine writing some of these things and saying, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to portray these particular moments, because likability isn't the right word for it. Because it's not like a charming role, but there is something that is utterly like disarming about your character that I really do love, but it's not like a typical character by any means. So could you just talk about the vulnerability of this role? Because you're out there, man.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, like, it's funny because, yeah, what's funny is writing it, we have this way of writing where like Mark's looking at the big picture and I'm looking at the character, and it's like you almost get to act early. And so when we're writing it, I'm super excited. I just remember writing it and being very excited. And I remember I get nervous before everything, but I did have this degree before filming where I was like, whoa, we're like really filming this. And like some of the scenes are like the super soker sequence is insane. Yeah. And I remember being like, oh no, am I going to be put in a box of being like a rated X actor or something? But like, of course there are, hopefully everyone who sees this similarly feels like they've got a bit of Hippo in them. Obviously not to the degree of being like a sociopath in any way, hopefully. But everyone is super weird, like yeah. You were saying. And I think everyone's afraid to show it. And so people want to fit in and people want to swim the same way that the other school of fish is swimming. And it is really a movie that's about swimming that other way. And sometimes you swim too far and you go a little crazy, but there's nothing wrong with swimming the other way. And I think, yeah, like the character, it's a really, really vulnerable role for sure. And there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of body stuff. There's a lot of sexual things, and there's a lot of like, and there's a lot of like psychosis. And so it was really insane, but there was something, I think the thing that made it a little bit easier is there is a slight warmth to Hippo, where he is a kid at the same time. And I think while he thinks he's older than he is and deserves more respect, he really comes off even younger than he is. And he comes off more childlike. And so I think that made it a little easier, because he wasn't your typical sociopath. He also at the same time like was a kid who kind of meant well.
Yeah.
It's, as the father of a 14-year-old, there's things that you do in here that I'm 48, so it's too far away to remember that like I'm looking at a mirror necessarily, but having a 14-year-old remind you of who you were at that age. And I like the moment where people are calling you Brad Pitt and you correct them to say, no, I'm this video game character. It's those kind of things that I see here that I love, because that is 100% something my 14-year-old would do, that he would be like, no, you totally misunderstood me, while giving me this great compliment.
Totally. Or I remember also like being a kid and I'd get so stubborn. And I remember like, for instance, like one awful thing I would do is like, if I was making my entire family late for something, and they mentioned it, I would like on purpose make them more late, because I'd be upset that they mentioned it. Or like if my dad would be like, Kimball, you said you would do the dishes and you didn't do them, and I was like about to do them, then I'd be like, well, I can't do them now because I was literally about to do them. But since you mentioned it, since you brought up the dishes, now I have to wait 4 more hours. And so like there are real Hippo moments like that in real life. Or like I remember when I was a kid, I was so OCD, I had to have my hair spiked a certain way, or if not, I like could not go to school, and I'd be stubborn. And then if my mom said it looked good, I'd be like, I love my mom, I have an amazing relationship with her, but if she said it looked good, it was like the final straw. I'd be like, do not say anything.
Right. So you're just like,
yeah.
You get mad. It's so funny, because I think me and Kimball, I think a lot of young men have the same experience. And yeah, like there's no judgment, like you said. And I think that's the fun part here. It's like, I also had to have my hair in a certain way, and it was so freaking weird. And yeah, it's like, and if people notate on your attempts to do something positive, it's like a hit to your masculinity or something. And
it hurts. It hurts.
The wires are off when at that age. Yeah. And I think, and when you have an enabler like the mom in this movie, boy, like that, you get this like perfect storm. And that was also sort of like what we were, because both our moms are like super nice and like super giving moms, and they mean well, but maybe they overgave. And we thought, well, luckily we weren't like Hippo, like a school shooter type, because we would have been unhinged. It was just the small, it was just, the worst thing that happened was the dishes stayed in the sink for 4 hours. We didn't not do anything weird.
And I'm trying to get better about that stubbornness. I think I hopefully have, but yeah, like it's like there's something about that, especially when you are like about to do a task and you're like I'm literally about to do it, and someone says, hey, you didn't do this yet. You're like, well, I'm not doing it now because I was about to, and you ruined it.
Hippo's like, I'm eating up. What does it look like I'm doing? And those were not things we realized would be so funny afterward. Like they were just real moments that happened to play well. So it's just a fun evolution from idea to final product. You never know how people are going to take it. So it's really fun that people find the humor in it, and the satire on the American family as something universal.
Oh, absolutely. And there's something, the direction this film is headed, if you would have had judgment on this character, if you would have been pointing your finger at him, at this family during it, it would not have had the emotional impact that it has in the end. That there is the tragic element to the story. This has a much, it hits harder than you would expect. It's kind of like when I go back and I watch something like, well, wildly different in tone, it feels akin to like a Harold and Maude, where there's things that, I go back and I watch a film like that, and it's a wildly different film than when I was 14 when I first saw it. I go back now as an adult, and I thought it was just a comedy. And then now I see the true sadness that's in that film. And so I think that you're going to have people that will, like good art, they'll grow with it, even though the art stays the same.
I love that.
That's so awesome. That's so well put. And I completely agree. It's like, I mean, you worded that so well. I think like because there is like a real funny element to it, and for instance, this is so random, but like I remember reading one like letterbox review out of Fantasia that was really really positive, and it was this guy who very much connected to the movie, and he thought it was very funny, but he was like that it hit home for him because he felt like he saw himself in Hippo in that way where he really grew up in that environment, and so there was like a real bleak sadness to it. And so it's interesting how like art like that evolves. And also Harold and Maude, that's an amazing like
Yeah.
thank you for saying that. It's a masterpiece.
Also, I think it'll evolve even from our perspectives of like,
Sure.
because we're seeing it from Hippo's lens more as similar, closer in age to him. I'm not a father yet. I hope to be one. You know, Kimball's not a father yet, as far as I know. And but like my mom has seen the movie a bunch of times. One of our producers, as one of our executive producers, and she always tries to. She talks about it again from that mother's perspective of, like you said, it's like raising the family is so difficult, and for people our age, we're giving that as the filmmakers. We are giving that, but we're when younger people see it, it's usually just the, oh my God, this is funny and crazy. And there could be deeper thoughts to it, but I love that you're saying that because yeah, like the piece of art matures over time. It's you can see it from both sides. You can see it from the kids or the parents, and there's something to be gleaned from both sides, which is great.
This is going to sound really maybe kind of douchey, but I my girlfriend really loves Joni Mitchell, and but Joni Mitchell has this really good quote where she says in one song, "I've seen both sides of the clouds now," and it's like, and I think it just touches on like when she was younger. Maybe she comes from she knows more about Joni Mitchell than I do, but I take it as like she came from like a smaller upbringing. There's like a literal sense to it, but like growing up, you do end up seeing both sides of the clouds. So you when you're younger, you're thinking one way, and it's so interesting how as time goes on, it's just so interesting. It's like
we've come across that stubborn young man. You can see him as stubborn now.
Yes, yeah. Like it's like like when I was a kid, I wouldn't be able to see that, but growing up now, I'm like, wow. Like I thank my parents for like putting up with that and being patient with me in those moments. You know what I mean?
We've come across the child, but we haven't come across the parent yet, and that'll be a much different movie one day, hopefully. But yeah, it's a good point, Kimball.
Well, it's like there's a very similar quote by Mark Twain where he says something along the lines of, "When I was 15, my father was an idiot. By the time I was 23, he was the most brilliant man I've ever met. How did he get so smart in 8 years?" And so it's that idea. It's just that it's universal. It goes back that far that when we're teenagers, that when you're first developing and you're first feeling things going through these huge emotions, it's easy as an adult once you have some distance from it to dismiss those feelings. And I think it's so important to understand how consuming and huge those emotions are, and to support that, and to, as a parent, as other people in society, that we need to really, take care of our teenagers because they look like adults, but they got a lot of growing to do still.
Totally. And it's like, and I'm not the same person I was when I was like a teenager, and thank God. And I feel like everyone feels that same way where it's like when you're a teenager, you feel like that is the world. Like you feel like that's the way the world is, But like, thank God there's like so much room to grow. Like it's like, and Hippo's like the bleakest case of it because he takes it to the furthest degree where he thinks like this is the way the world is, and it's also against me and it's coming for me. And like it, it's like
it was, and on that, it was important for us to just to instill in Hippo sympathy, and that he isn't the school shooter or the psychopath, that he does ultimately mean well despite those problems, because there are because there are obviously people with those problems that don't turn out well, and he didn't, but it wasn't because of some stereotypical mentally ill male thing. Like we wanted to like show that also. Like there's a lot of movies about the mentally ill male that's like they're just evil, right? And it's like we didn't want Hippo to be evil. We wanted you to like really like feel for him and his struggle.
Well, everybody at this point I'm glad we're at a point now where most people have dealt with mental illness on some level. They either have a direct connection to it with a family member themselves, something they've gone through, or they know somebody that's been through that. So it's just something that films like this that don't point that finger at it, that are, they are sympathetic to that, that I think that it's so easy to scapegoat that as the thing, as opposed to having a language to talk to each other about these things that we go through. I think it's so important. And I think your film's doing that, man. So congratulations on this. You guys got a really special one here.
Thank you so much. That means so much.
Really appreciate you and love the collection of DVDs or Blu-rays.
Yeah.
Mostly, Blu-rays. There's a couple VHS, couple DVDs
oh my
in there.
God. You have to know, I'm a huge, firm believer in physical media. I also, any movie I love, I have to own it. There's something about owning a movie that someone's made so different than because you're this is a piece of art someone's made, and I have it, and no one can take it from me, and I can watch it whenever I want, Maybe that's a little bit of Hippo in me, feeling like I no one can take it from me, but I think Blu-rays are that important.
Well, it's the same thing with owning, records or CDs or whatever that is. There's movies on that shelf and go into the closet also. There's a couple thousand there's things I own that I will never watch again for the rest of my life. I'm sure of that. But I can go up and I can look at the shelf and I can have that memory when I look at it of seeing that film. I can go back there. I can, if I come across, something like Escape from New York, I can remember when I saw that in the theater, who I saw it with. I can smell it gets that sense of memory thing. So that when am I going to watch that again?
Netflix isn't the same.
No, no, there's a thumbnail will never get me that visceral reaction. So yeah,
totally. Yeah. Well, and also, I don't know how much is allowed to be said on this, but we do have a Hippo Blu-ray and VHS coming.
Done. That is owned. That absolutely needs to sit on my shelf, man, for sure.
Oh man.
So
I'd be honored if it sat.
No, I'm not kidding. I will absolutely own this film, because this is one of those ones that I think that, and I know we have to wrap up, but this is the kind of film that I want to leave out for my 14-year-old to find. I don't want to watch. I do not want to be the one that presses play and sits down next to him, but I want him to see this for sure.
He might get some self-awareness, or if it's the right age, or he'll think it's making fun of him and stab it.
We have a pretty good honest relationship with one another. It would just be the sex stuff. That's all it would be. It's
too much. That'd be too much for the family together. But
no, a school shooter, we can watch that together all day. No problem. We can get through that. Show us half a boob. We can't fuck with that. It's just not going to work.
I feel that.
So, Mark, I got to throw this out there, man. I interviewed you 6 years ago for The Pledge. And so it's really good to see you again. And dude, it's forever ago. And so I've been watching your stuff for a while, and I've just been excited to check this out. And I was really excited for how the film turned out. So congratulations on this one, man. It's been a long time coming. So
thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Yes. Went all the way from producer to the movie I met. That was the movie that led to Kimball meeting me to now directing. And so I really appreciate you tracking that. And hopefully we'll talk on our next one soon.
I hope so. Let's not make it 6 years next time, though.
Yeah. No. We'll make it 1 or 2 max.
Perfect. I love it. Awesome.
You are the best. Thank you so much.
You're a blast, Chris. This was a super fun interview. One of the most fun we've ever had.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. It was great to see you. Take care.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Time enough to figure you out. Time enough to write this down. Wish me luck, give me hope. So My boys crack.